Hi, it's George here from the Unofficial Controller podcast. Just taking a moment to, first of all, thank you for listening. It means a hell of a lot to us. Secondly, every week we bring you free content, the latest news, the new releases, a feature of note, normally something to do with games or gaming past, be it one of our history of documentaries or an insight into the industry itself, or how games have affected us as people. Well, yes, we incorporate you, listeners, into that. All we ask is that you drop a little comment on our post on social media and you can get featured on the show. Hey, do you know what? You may even win a prize. The only charge for this is £0, 0 pence, $0. That's right, no money. But all we ask is that you like, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you found this show. And if you're feeling a little bit cheeky, tell a friend, get them to do the same. We have a Discord that's free for you guys to all join in and get involved in. And the community on Instagram and Twitter is alive and thriving. So don't be a lonely gamer. Make yourself known. Thank you. And now it's time to begin this week's entertainment. Take care, guys. Hello and welcome to the Unofficial Controller podcast, your weekly gaming podcast, episode 96, International Women's Day / Mother's Day celebration here in the UK. So this is for all the mother gamers out there. Female representation in video games with me, George, as always joined by Bobby, Ying to my Yang. How's it going, my American brethren?
Good, you?
Yeah.
Going pretty good.
Yeah, really good. So I FaceTimed my mum because obviously we live here in New York in the apartment with Tom. I FaceTimed my mother earlier. Card had arrived, so happy day. She was pleased. She was pleasantly surprised. So that was nice. I guess here it's in May, so we've got to wait a little bit longer to celebrate with your mother, who I might.
Yeah, this was the very first time that I knew that. I didn't know there was different Mother's Days for different countries.
Well, I'm going to adopt your mother as my American
she's in
mother.
Yeah, she's cool with that.
Yeah.
She likes the accent. That's what it is.
Do you think I might end up being her favorite son?
Definitely second.
Okay.
Yeah, right. For sure.
Your brother.
Yeah, well, he'd be third, so it's fine. Yeah, she's annoyed with him. She needs like something new, you know? That's what it is.
Okay. Everyone likes something new. So I can be the new favorite son. I like
facts.
That.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. Okay. Well, before we dive down that rabbit hole, let's give listeners new and old a little rundown of how the show's going to go. So coming up, we've got some news. In there, some little Big Planet news. Oh, yeah. Believe, friend. Believe. It's 2008. Then we've got the feature, which is female representation in video games. Then we've got the new release highlights, which is obviously brought to us every single episode by the mighty Stingray, the legendary Stingray. And then the show ends when I ask you, good sir, what you're hoping to play. But it cannot begin. Otter's grip tight on that box of milk tray and that card you got from Lidl's for Mumsy, friend, because I need to ask Bobby, what you been playing?
Now, for a very busy week, I had a very busy gaming schedule. Okay. I got the platinum with me, my boy Marlon, for Sniper Elite 3. Okay. What I didn't know was,
how is your boy Marlon?
He's doing all right. He's just home. He's chilling. He texts me, when are we gonna play today? I'm like, later on. I got more important things to do right now, like do professional podcast. Yeah, that's facts. So we did everything on the trophy list. I'm okay. We're gonna get all the difficulty trophies are gonna pop and the platinum together. Everything's gonna be great. We beat the game on authentic, the last level, which was unbelievable. And then nothing popped. I'm like, we're missing one trophy. I'm like, dedicated soldier. I'm like, what's going on with this?
Oh no.
So I'm looking up. I'm like, oh my god, is there a glitch? We're at 92% completion. I'm like, what is this? It took me like 20 minutes to find it. Apparently, there's weapon parts that are on certain enemies.
Oh.
I picked up 4, not knowing what the hell it even was. And it's not a trophy for it. So I'm like, oh, what? So I had to go to YouTube and find the people who were carrying the weapon parts. I wanted the platinum to pop at the end of the game, like I love doing. It's just that, you know. So now we had to go back on easy.
Oh, I was going to say you didn't go back through an authentic, did you? Please?
No, we had to go back on easy. We killed the guy, got the weapon part, quit, exit game, new level. So we did it yesterday. It was fun. It was a lot. I mean, I had a lot of fun with that game. I can't wait to play 4. So we're looking forward to 4. But we took a break from that, and we said, let's play We Were Here Together, which is the 3rd game of the We Are Here series. The first 2 games, beautiful. It's an actual puzzle game. What are you doing? What am I doing? Read me this, read me that. You're working together. This game, okay, Satan's minions decided to make puzzles for this game. The puzzles make no sense. There's no communication at all. It's just figure it out. So, for example, your truck needs gas. There's just a green line. You got to fill it up to. Okay, well, where do you fill it? Oh, the other side of the map? Oh, now there's a math game? Well, 3rd grade was rough, bro. So this took a long time to figure out. Okay? This took a long... Me and him couldn't figure this out. So I'm getting very upset. We finally figured it out with the, I don't know, luck. Bam, got it.
Yeah, okay.
Another puzzle. There's a bridge. You have to connect the bridges to get across. There's a circular puzzle where you had to move certain things in a certain spot to keep the bridge connected. This took 3 hours.
What console is your boy Marlon playing on?
PS4.
Oh, right. Okay. So it's like cross-generational.
Yeah. I had to look at YouTube. This is the 4th chapter, by the way. The 4th chapter stumped us so hard. Even the YouTube video I watched step by step, I was going to kill myself. I couldn't. I was so aggravated. I'm like, you know what, bro? Listen, after this puzzle, we're done. I got to do something else. So what I did was aggravated myself more by playing Cyberpunk 2077. I needed 4 endings, and that's what I did last night. And I'll tell you what. It might be cancel culture. You might want to do a little, I don't know, like a little bing, a chime, something. I'm going to say something. We're going to see what happens. I got all the endings, okay? I wanted, in my opinion, the best ending to be the last ending.
Mm-hmm.
So I did all the endings, okay? My personal favorite, which I forgot it was called, was when I got my girlfriend to be with me at the end of the game.
Yes.
So I had Judy.
Experience.
Yeah, so Judy with the booty.
Yeah,
and
mine was Pan Am, but yeah.
Yeah, so Pan Am was the second to last one. So I did the other one, like, these don't really appeal to me. These 2 look like the best endings. So Pan Am was second to last. That was an awesome ending. But then, the Pan Am one, the one where you get to be with your girlfriend. That was the last one I picked.
Well, for me, it would have been different because in mine, I played as a male character and you played through as a female character.
Mm-hmm.
And in my playthrough, I think Pan Am is the prerequisite sort of.
So she was your pick.
So we went over the border in that tank thing that she's got hold of. But I don't know what the alternative would be for Judy and her girlfriend.
So for me, since Pan Am, is a straight line character, I had Judy as my girlfriend. Mm-hmm. So you actually have to make the phone call to whoever you were romantically involved in, and then that person comes with you with Pan Am.
Ah, right.
So you talk to that person, and then they're in a car. But basically, the ending is just you and Pan Am sitting on the truck, which was cool because you guys are like best friends. Well, at least for me, we were best friends.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the way it handled Pan Am and the relationship was actually quite mature because it wasn't immediately like they jumped into bed. It was built up and it was quite classy, and you kind of had to. For a game anyway, obviously we're talking, GTA, you can just pull over in a car, but it was you had to work towards it. And the first experience, we'll call it, because it's a PG show I had with Pan Am, was where we kind of shared our minds in this sort of cybernetic tank.
Yeah,
we kind of experienced each other's feelings, and then we had a moment with each other, which I thought was actually really cool. In fact, it left me wanting to have more of a relationship with Pan Am. I don't know if you had the same with Judy, but once you'd done that experience, you would ring them up because the characters are so, the story, no one can knock, we spoke about this off air, no one can knock the story of Cyberpunk and the characterization of the characters. The world, like, okay. But the actual characters and the story and the emotions are absolutely top notch. And I just wondered, how does that pan across your relationship when you're female V? How does that work with Judy? And then obviously I thought it was classy, but I wanted it to last longer and I wanted to be able to ring them up and say, what are you doing? And then go to a bar together or you go see a show or get a brain dance. And because of how stripped out the game was, there was nothing.
No. See, for me, I could either pick Judy or I forgot his name, the cop.
He was really cool. He came on to me on a water tower and I turned it down, but then I was like, I shouldn't have done that. I should have just gone with that.
Yeah, he was super. They're both super cool, but I just like Judy.
Well, I was already in a relationship with Pan Am when he kind of popped the question on sort of water tower. So me being quite a truthful, faithful human being, even in video games.
Yeah, I'm a
previous co-host always laughs. It's like, you play it so like Champion of Valor or Captain America style. And I'm like, yeah, this is how I live my life. That's exactly what I want to do.
100%.
So, I said no. But it's a video game, so you kind of could have gone bonkers. But
I could have, but I'm like, why? I'm going to live the game through me.
True.
So I picked Judy. I thought Pan Am was the best character besides Johnny Silverhand in the game. I just really liked the whole story with her. Judy was cool. I had no issue with Judy. I liked Judy's voice. As soon as I heard Judy's voice, I'm like, I want to marry this woman. And that's what I did. In my mind, I married her. There's no marriage in the game, but I did it. So I got all the 4 endings, got the platinum for that. And then I started playing Maquette.
Oh, yeah.
Which I thought was Spanish. So I was saying Maquette, but I don't know what a Maquette was. Apparently it's a dollhouse.
Yeah, I think I've heard that. More like a diorama doll's house.
Yeah, like a fancy one that moves. I'm like, I'm telling everybody, Maquette. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, bro, you have PS5? Yeah. It's free. Download it. They're like, oh, you mean Maquette? I'm like, it's Maquette. They're like, why is it Maquette? I'm like, because what is that word? So my friend showed me what it meant. And I was like, wow, it's pronounced Maquette. I was saying it wrong for a whole week. Nothing new. So I started playing it. What happened was the first level, I felt like, okay, cool song, kind of 70s vibe song, reading the words. When we, memories of, I'm like, oh no. Now I know, at least in my mind, something sad happened here. Second level, music's a little bit more, somber. I'm like, oh no, this is not going to be good. So what I did was I hit mute and I started blasting hip hop songs. I'm not going to be emotional again playing a game right now. Can't do it. So I didn't read. I was reading just the story, but basically it's a puzzle game where you have to manipulate. The maquette can shrink things or move big things because you're also in a real life. You're also in a big one as a little one.
Oh, wow.
So you can take small things out to make it bigger or put bigger things in to make it smaller to do different puzzles.
I kind of saw it. I've never been a big fan of puzzle games. But
yeah, me neither, but this is pretty cool.
That. I was like,
I really liked it. So I got to the 3rd chapter. So far, so good. I'm just hoping that's not sad, bro. I can't do it.
It's probably good.
So that's all I've been playing. I know it was like I had a tight hours this week, but I did a lot. So that's it for me. What about you?
I think I've played a little bit of Africa last weekend. Still enjoying that. It's like I might play it today because I'm feeling a bit under the weather, as I said to you before the show started. And apologies to anyone if I'm not my usual upbeat self, but I will try. I've sort of rubbed some coffee granules in my eye, so that should perk me up a little bit. I've mainly been playing Little Big Planet. I want to get the first one finished, but the last 2 levels, I managed to get all week I've been playing this last level. And I'll go till I'm like literally, I can feel the anxiety building in my chest of like rage. And then it's like, no, I'll turn it off. And then tomorrow I have another go. And then last night I actually managed to get it cleared. And I was like, I can't believe that. Thank God for that. And then the next level, it was like this last two levels, the actual precision of the jumping and the accuracy that you need to land on. And I don't know whether the surfaces are slippy or whether I'm being a bit sort of clumsy with the controls. I mean, the rest of it, apart from that midpoint that we did an episode about a couple of episodes back, strangely difficult levels in otherwise normal games, you expect the difficulty to ramp up as you go further through a game. And this one has, apart from that strange spike in the middle where it needed more of this sort of precision platforming elements that just came out of nowhere, really, and then disappeared as fast as they arrived. But this last section, the collector's lair and the whatever comes next, the prison, I'm just like, I really want to be done with this. Other than that, because I'm a glutton for punishment when I go to bed at night time, obviously it's 2008, dude, as far as I'm concerned. So I take my PSP to bed and I'm playing Little Big Planet in my bed as well.
Just cross save?
No, it's a different game. I think possibly later on, I think maybe the Vita allows you to cross save. I don't really know, but I just kind of enjoying it at the moment. I know there's all the creativity side and all that sort of stuff that you can get sunk into. That's not really for me, but I'm just enjoying the levels. And that's apart from I've had a bit of a roadblock rebuilding this PSP. I got if anyone's thinking of doing this, I wouldn't say it's difficult if you've had consoles apart before, but I decided I was going to reshell that white Vita that I'd bought, white PSP that I bought, and move it into a black one because I wanted a mint PSP 1000 to go with the PS3. And I thought, yes, they look like they're from the same family. It kind of completes that little collection. That'll make me very happy. The shell that came, oh, dude, it's so cheap compared to a PSP's proper shell with its captive nuts and the places where you screw in. So I've got this thing all packaged together, but it feels like it's going to explode. There's places where you could put screws in, but instead of actually putting holes where you can screw into, there's just nothing. It's just a flat piece of plastic, so you can't even get the screw to grind into it. So it's been a bit of a disaster zone, really. So more than likely going to end up just getting as mint possible as I can get black PSP, and I'll call it a day. I think next month I'm just going to I'm going to try and have as cheap a month as possible. So I'm just going to pick up some UMDs, 20, 30p sort of job in a bulk lot, the movies. I kind of got this weird obsession with those, even though, I don't watch them that often, but I quite like the idea of having a good library. And then there's a few sort of PSP titles I want to knock off. Nothing outstandingly rare or expensive or anything, but, I like to get the exclusives that were only on that platform sort of thing. I like to just make sure I've got all those. Other than that, I mean, at this point, grab yourself a pillow. It's not 2008. It's 2021. Again, as always, if people want to tune in about modern games, they listen to you. If they want to tune into the Wayback Machine, that's what they do for me. And with that all said and done, it's time for the news. We scoured the very darkest regions of the internet to bring you the latest stories. First up, as is dictated by form and tradition, you're first out the bag. What you got for us, friend?
Wait, there's still more. This week has been huge for Xbox fans with the Bethesda acquisition. And according to a news source, another event is on the way for the coming weeks, which should continue that momentum. Earlier this month, we reported that Brad Sams, the website Thurrott.
Yeah, do you remember that? We talked about the actual guy who created that website's name something Thurrott.
Oh, yeah. Which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Had plans for a What's New for Gaming event to be held by Microsoft on March 23rd. Well, another source has also stated that this event is still coming, but it may have been pushed back a few days. According to Windows Central, insider Jez Corden has had his own sources claiming the event suggests that an Xbox gaming showcase will now be held on March 26th, and the show might offer a glimpse at games coming throughout the remainder of the year and perhaps after. Although Corden states that details are fairly scarce at the moment, so the event could be very much tech-focused and only hold a smaller announcements. He says, more recently, through our own sources, it seems that this event looks to have shifted slightly to Friday, March 26th. We have heard that the show may offer a glimpse at some point of upcoming Xbox games for 2021 and possibly beyond. Jeff Grubb, another insider expert, has also reportedly done his own digging into the event and has added on Twitter. He says, expect any news about big upcoming games here. He said those announcements will most likely come at E3, and the event will be more focused on services. But he did say it's possible some info on smaller games could be at the show. Whatever the case, more news is always good news, and we'll happily take more. Keep in mind as well that all Xbox, Aaron Greenberg's recently stated that Microsoft had nothing coming soon that would feature game announcements or world premieres like Elden Ring. So it's best to keep expectations low.
I think that's people need to be mindful of that. They've had a massive expenditure, and absorbing a company like Microsoft are huge, and when they make an acquisition, it's going to take time to absorb those members of staff and business models and business plans and development styles. And they're riding a wave at the moment where it's from good news story to good news story. They had that slight blip with the wanting to charge like crazy money for Xbox Live Gold, which was part of an ambition to push people towards Games Pass, which, undoubtedly is the Netflix of games, for want of a better word. So, I think it's probably right to temper expectations because it feels like they're building up and up and up and up. And I think within reason, they've kind of peaked for now. And I think if people expect another big announcement, I think it might be a bit of a stretch. So I think if they do something on the 26th, it will just probably be like, this is what a couple of little things we're working on, nothing too major. They've got to do something, one would imagine, to get a couple of announcements out the way. But I think if people go into that, it's like recently with some of the Nintendo Directs and the last PlayStation Direct, I think a lot of people want there to be more than there is. So when the actual statement comes out, it's like, was that it? Well, still lots of exciting things going on, but that's it. There's a lot of disappointment, and social media obviously fires up like, oh my goodness gracious me, it's unacceptable. So, there you go.
Do you think they're going to raise the price?
What, Games Pass?
Eventually.
I think they're going to have to. I think they're going to have to. Either they need to sell more consoles, although Phil Spencer, I know a lot of people have thrown maths under my nose, but if the big man Phil Spencer says it's a loss-making system, it's a loss-making system, okay? So they either need to sell way more consoles, and that's either going to make the loss even more, or there's going to be some sort of critical mass where they've got enough users for this to work. So they're either going to push for two. It's either going to be going for critical mass, and everyone has to have an Xbox, including your grandmother, or they're going to have to put the price up because it's a business. They've spent $7 billion recently. That needs to pay off.
Yeah, and they can give small increments, maybe I'll try it for X amount of months for this price, and to help boost people getting it. But eventually it's going to have to go up.
Yeah, and I think that if you buy a studio, and then obviously the methodology at Xbox is if you've got a Series X, a Series S, or a One X or whatever, you get Games Pass. It financially makes sense. But that also means that their day and dollar date plastic physical sales in stores or Amazon is down through the floor. Because why would you pay $69.99 for this game? Because you get it for free. And I know a lot of people say, oh, well, I really like that game, so I bought it. Yeah, but you probably bought it when it was $7.99 on Amazon just to have it. And that's cool. I would be exactly the same. In fact,
me too, 100%.
Series S has entered unofficial controller towers, so we now have every platform under the sun apart from PC. So I think you've got to pony up and get a gaming PC next with some of Albuccio's money. Just to let you know, you can't keep spending it on flash cars and gym and health physiques and clinics. It's got to stop.
Sorry.
Stop.
My bad.
But that's kind of where it's at. I think, you can't pursue both business models. They've gone with this rather sort of industry disruptive business model. Fair play to them. It's one that carries a lot of goodwill because unless you're giving away 300 games for $10.99, you're not very consumer friendly. A
lot of games, bro.
A lot of games. Yeah. They come and go. Like shows and movies on Netflix. Some they probably have to pay for. Obviously, it's included EA games now as well. So obviously, Jedi Fallen Order's on there, and EA Star Wars Squadrons is on there. And I've had a little dust through to see if these probably isn't for me. James, the work experience boy's been playing a lot of Fortnite. Apparently, the graphics are amazing. Okay. What else has he been playing? Sea of Thieves he thought was amazing, but he's into sort of online experiences where I'm not. I mean, I appreciate it for what it is, but it was kind of like a bit of a hard pass for me. The other game that he kind of downloaded that was of mild interest to me was Sunset Overdrive. Looks, it's kind of everything I wanted it to be. It's quirky, it's strange, it feels like an evolutionary step towards Spider-Man on the PS4 that we got here when they came over again. Yeah, it's interesting. The actual gameplay and the linking the combos of movement within the levels is quite cool. So I'd recommend anyone who missed that or didn't realize what it was when it launched, however many years ago now, to have a go. It's on Games Pass. It's free. Why not?
Yeah.
Other than that, there's the Halos and bits and bobs, which part of the latest one I've already played, and kind of my memories in those are where they're at.
I want to make my Xbox my horror box.
Oh, have all your horror games on there?
Just every single horror game on there. Just play it.
I think that's a pretty cool.
For some reason,
idea.
like I can't play a horror game on the PlayStation and try to get a platinum for it because sometimes you gotta play the game twice or 3 times, and then it's not scary anymore. It's like watching a horror movie. I want to experience it, get the whole thing of it, and then next. Whereas, beat this game 4 times, so I know my man's coming out of the closet now. I can just shoot him, bam, and it's like, So many horror games. I looked at it. There's oh my god, there's so many of them.
Yeah, well,
so it looks fun. I mean,
there are some more mature games that I haven't had the experience of because of probably locked on the Xbox ecosystem. So I might dust through those. I was disappointed not to see Project Gotham, but I'm sure games like that have got car licenses that have expired. So you can't bring, as we spoke to Mr. Rouse last week in what's hailed to be an absolutely fantastic episode about the industry in general. It's just fascinating. Wasn't it?
I never thought about you have one game with one song, and then that could be your whole game has to be uploaded because of software license issue.
Absolutely.
Here's an update for the game that takes the song out. That's insane.
Yeah, it's fascinating to hear from him. Anyway, with all that fascinating news out the way, here's something that's probably not quite so fascinating, but very close to my heart, because one thing we'll talk about it at the end. So it is 2008. The online functionality for Little Big Planet titles currently isn't available right now, and according to Eurogamer, it's all because one fan isn't happy with how Sony has treated the franchise. The person in question is said to have brought the service to its knees through orchestrated DDoS attacks, forcing them to be taken offline. The official Sony XDev Twitter account has acknowledged the issue, stating our Little Big Planet servers have been taken offline whilst we investigate some technical issues. We'll be back as soon as we can. Speaking to the news editor Tom Phillips at Eurogamer, Little Big Planet fans claim the individual has taken various entries in the series offline in the past. They are also believed to be the reason why social media site lbp.me has remained unavailable since November last year. Strangely enough, though, the attacker is apparently not targeting Little Big Planet on the PS Vita. It's probably where he gets his Little Big Planet fix. Or maybe they've just not gotten around to that entry just yet. While Little Big Planet 3 was the series' last entry back in 2014, Sackboy has been given a new lease of life for the PS5 launch title, Sackboy: A Big Adventure. Perhaps the person in question really liked that play, create, share aspect to the previous games. We'll be sure to update you all once Little Big Planet titles become playable online once more. Now, there was a hashtag #SaveLBP online, and it was trending. Now, I did watch a video say they were fixed, but then when I
what is LBP?
Little Big Planet.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
I read that like it's something else.
Obviously, anyone who's listened to the last 2 or 3 shows know I've been playing through Little Big Planet, and I intend to play through them all and then knock Sackboys down. What I was absolutely amazed at was not just the fact that everyone's levels that they've created over the 3 games, and they're all kind of they're all compatible with each other in a certain way. So you can play 3 and get access to 2 and 1's created levels, which is fantastic. I was playing this game, and people were joining my game to help me play through it. Can you believe that? That game is still active as all hell. I came out of one game, a totally different player joined me. I came into another game. I checked the download. I checked the created levels. There was ones created literally an hour before I went into the creator level area. It is literally still massively used on a daily basis. I thought I would play through on the 1-player section. Okay. And kind of weird timing that this happens as I decide to brush off the Little Big Planets, but I start these waves, Bobby. I don't surf them, but I start them, friend. So obviously people have listened to this show and gone, I remember that being good, and decided to go back to it. I don't know, but we'll take that good news story and we'll run with it. So when this happened, there's been videos on YouTube and the Little Big Planet community about how they've been messaging the Twitter devs and the devs on Twitter and saying, oh, well, we need the game back up. And they're like, we're working on it. Don't worry, Little Big Planet isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So people are still buying the microtransactions in the game. The stores are still all active for all the different Sackboy stuff you can get and all the different levels. And some guy must have had Little Big Planet 2. And I think on there is a Metal Gear Solid themed level. And he picked me up from my game and pulled me through and let me play this through with him. I've got Little Big Planet 1, presumably is on Little Big Planet 2 or 3. And although I couldn't pick up some of the things because they were locked away behind that other game, I still was able to go through and play this Metal Gear Solid level with him.
That's awesome.
It was great. I was like, well, this is really good. It was like the VR training missions.
So this could be a solid franchise if they decide to do it again, besides this new Sackboy game.
Yeah, this Sackboy game is
not the same.
It's like a 3D Mario world. Not 3D, the isometric ones, like the one you're playing through with Eva at the moment, with Bowser's Fury. It's very much like that. It's still all the realistic looking textures of the wall and the fur and the wood and everything, which is what I really like. Admittedly, nowadays they don't look as good, but they've still got this nice arts and crafts style to them. Again, I could wax lyrical about this game. I never really thought much about it back in the day, but since I've been playing, I've been like, yeah, this is cool. On the PSP, the theme tunes, the songs on the PSP are I was playing along the other day. I had to take the kids for a COVID test, and I was listening. I thought I'd take the PSP. That's what I'll do. So they went in, and I was playing it in the car, and this song came on for this level based in China, and I was like, I don't want this to end. It's absolutely on fire. Like, yeah, it's a little bit 2008 plinky plonk indie style, but it was still fascinating to hear and listen to. Enough. Let's take the Wayback Machine all the way back to modern times, Bobby. What's this last bit of news for us, friend?
Small but perfectly formed powerhouse. NDP sales tracking data has revealed Super Mario World 3D plus Bowser's Fury has experienced a strong start in the U.S. in terms of sales. In its launch month of February, the game has ranked as the best-selling game and the second best-selling game of 2021.
Wow.
Notably, this doesn't include its digital sales. Here it is in the words of NDP analyst Matt Piscatella. Why not? The best-selling game of the year so far goes for the... You know what I'm so mad about? I used to read last names from hockey players like this. Throw this at me now, I don't know where I am.
I mean, you called him Piscatella. I would probably say Piscatella.
Piscatella. Yeah, you're right.
What you said is almost swear words back in the UK.
Yeah, basically. So I apologize, Matt. He states Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury debuts as the best-selling game of February. The title also ranks as the second best-selling game of 2021 year to date, despite the lack of digital sales tracking for Nintendo published titles. Keep in mind, no sales figures have been provided. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Animal Crossing New Horizons were also in the top 10 bestsellers of February 2021. Super Mario World 3D appears to have been just as successful in other regions. In Japan, the game launched in the top spot in the charts, and it's estimated to have sold 250,000 physical copies in the first few days. Over in the UK, sales were reportedly 190% more than the Wii U original, and the game was labeled as 2021's fastest selling release.
You know what, Nintendo, to be fair to them, they're keeping it classy.
It's working.
They've cut their niche, okay? They've got in it. I think, again, we were speaking off air. I think Xbox is cutting their niche as the Netflix of games, very pro-consumer friendly. I'm hoping that Nintendo cut a niche for themselves soon. We talked about off air of my dream of them releasing like a console made of marble, being like the kind of physical collector's machine. You know, lots of these wonderful little box sets and made out of wood and whatever. This console needs to be completely out there, made of gold and wood and be like a real, almost like an audiophiles version of a console. They play their exclusives there and some multi-franchise ones if they get physical release. If not, you download those through the store. you've seen with Instagram, physical collecting is super popular and everyone loves a picture of a box set, don't they? I mean, everybody does. So, I don't imagine that's going away anytime soon. So fair play to Nintendo. They're doing well. They've cut their little niche and the games are still as fun as they were 20, 30 years ago. Previous co-host Tom, when I speak to him, he's a bit sort of upset about where Nintendo have ended up. He didn't really feel they're a games company for him anymore, but no doubt when the new Zelda comes out, he'll brush the dust off his Switch and he'll plug it in and he'll play it all over again, Breath of the Wild 2. So, sources for courses. But this news I thought was worthy because we've had it in the news recently where they've been like the best-selling console and they're outselling PS5 and Xbox Series X and S, and that's obviously got to do with demand and other bits and bobs. But, interesting. They're still making money and continue to do so.
Yep.
Question for you. Did we miss anything? If so, do you, dear listener, have an opinion or take on the news we missed? Do you want to get in contact with me and say, George, do you know what? Your Little Big Planet 2008 news is wearing a little bit thin, friend. And if you don't start playing PS5, all right, I'm going to crawl down the internet and rip your blimming eyes out. If they wanted to let me know about their intentions of pulling out my optical nerves, Bobby, how would they get in contact with us?
They could hit us up on Twitter at Unofficial Controller Podcast. They can come on Instagram in the DM at Unofficial Controller Podcast. They can email us at questions at Unofficial Controller Podcast. And in all the links in the Twitter and the IG, there's a link tree, and you can come join the Discord.
Wonderful.
Which you got at least three new listeners, I believe.
Yeah, it's been on fire recently, so very happy about that. Lots of new people joining, a little bit of diversity in the conversation. One thing we do need, and hopefully this episode will help resolve, is we need more female representation in there. We've got some ladies, but yeah, it's a bit of what I would call, this might be a little bit naughty and end up with the show getting pulled, but it's a little bit of a sausage fest in there. And you know what? It needs not to be. And hopefully after today, that'll get fixed because, ladies, we need representation in there. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear what you're doing with your games and what you're playing and all that good stuff. So, please come down, disrupt the sausage party. Let's get some more balanced conversation in there. That doesn't mean you shouldn't, they're thinking, well, I'm not going there. It's a sausage party. I've totally missold the whole concept. I apologize. I'll start again. It's a welcoming place. It is welcoming. The one thing about this brand is the community is.
Yeah, we need a female's mind.
Yes.
In there.
Yeah, we've got obviously Danny Plays and a couple of other females that get involved and but I want more of them. I want there to be like a females only locked page where they can go and chat if they want to and then maybe contribute in the main page. That's the dream. That would be, in my opinion, that would be next level. With that all said and done, it's time for the feature now. Bobby, this week it was International Women's Day. So we put up a post up asking everybody, but including, I reached out to a few noteworthy female gamers to ask them their opinion on this, because obviously a man's side, we need balance in this feature, Bobby. We need balance in this feature. And the ladies, they got back in touch. They came back with their ideas of where they think gaming's at, how it's changed, who some of their favourite female protagonists are, and etc. And also, at the moment, as we record this in the UK, it's Mother's Day. So here's the feature. International Women's Day / Mother's Day celebration, female representation in video games. As always, we reached out and asked you guys and girls your thoughts on the topic, and I've interwoven those into the feature. The portrayal of men and women in video games, as in other media, is a subject of research in gender studies and discussed in the context of sexism in video games. Although women make up about half of video game players, they are sadly underrepresented as characters in mainstream games. Despite the provenance of iconic characters such as Samus Aran or Lara Croft, portrayal of women in games often reflects traditional gender roles, sexual objectification, or stereotypes such as that of a damsel in distress. Male characters are often stereotypically depicted as big and muscular, and LGBT characters have been slow to appear in video games as a result of the heteronormativity Try saying that. You got Piscatella and I got heteronormativity of the medium. Women have a major role of being cast as supporting characters because gamer preferences and sales. Research indicates that how genders are portrayed in games can influence players' perception of gender roles, and that young girls prefer to play a character of their own gender more than boys do. On average, female-led games sell fewer copies than male-led ones, but also have lower marketing budgets. I find that last sentence or fact really quite strange, because you've recently played Cyberpunk through as a female character, and had the voice acting apparently is better.
Since I was a kid, if I had an option to play as a female, boom. I don't know. I mean, there's so many male characters that when you see female, it's like refreshing, especially back in the 16-bit era. So I'd pick a female character. All my friends made fun of me. Oh, why are you going to be the girl for? I'm like, well, she just picked up a rocket launcher and tossed 2 guys. So, I'm doing the same things you are, really, at this point,
I think we'll get through this as we go through the feature, and there's some salient points, not only from the research that we've done, but also from the listeners. I think we're in the change. I think the direction of the river flow has started to divert round, but I think there's still a hell of a long way to go before it's, we have that sort of epiphany moment. I mean, I think Last of Us 2 got close, really close, but probably still no cigar. But I think more the controversy of what happened in the story pulled back that game from being a real pillar for strong female characters in video games.
I think the problem is that as far as the male viewpoint, right? They want someone who's beautiful, but strong, but not too strong, right? She has to look a certain way, and they don't expect her to do things that a male character would do. And that's the issue. Like, oh, well, I'm playing as this female character. I can't identify with that character. So you already lost a little bit there. So at least give me something to look at, so they try to
I find like
over-sexualize. And if you look at this, like, example, when we had the Enigmatic Boys on with Lara Croft, it's like early 90s, boom, sexual fantasy. She's great. She's shooting. She's running, sexy clothes. The remake, she's just as cool. She still definitely has a sex appeal to her, but she's not overly sexualized, and you can believe what she's doing, because especially as you see her grow in the game.
I'll tell you a funny story. When I was a kid, I used to love the Aliens franchise. Probably sort of early teens, I would say. I thought Ripley was just amazing. I remember my dad said to me once, he was like, "Who would you like to be in a film?" And I was like, "Ripley." And he laughed, and I was like, "She's so badass, Dad. It's amazing, And Ripley was intelligent. She was cool. She wasn't overly muscular. She was getting the job done. She had like that sort of innate survival experience.
Tough as nails, bro.
Yeah, really.
And it wasn't being forced either.
No.
That's what I really appreciated. She grew into that role because she had no choice.
Yeah.
That's a powerful character right there.
Well, by the time they landed on LV-426, it was bad enough on the Nostromo where you're trapped, and then the next minute they put you on a planet full of these things. And she, like you say, she grew into it, but she really had no choice if she wanted to survive.
It's almost the same stereotypical thing, because it's an early 90s movie, right? Or early 80s, really, actually. She's a woman. She's saying what she feels, what she knows, her experience.
Yeah.
And they just, don't worry about that. We're Marines.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if I'm a super strong dude, right? And I got a gun, a whole bunch of people, someone just lived through that. Come in the tent. What happened? Write this down. Let's make a game plan. You just were in it. I never experienced this, but I'm supposed to be some kind of super tough Marine. Meanwhile, you lived through it, so what's happening with you. They should listen to her more.
This thing's got acid for blood. It's literally tough as boots. It can crawl on the ceiling, it can crawl on the floor, it can crawl on the wall. It's very dark, so you can't see it in the dark. And in space, no one can hear you scream, Bobby. They ought to use that for the film. That'd be a great tagline. Anyway, we've got as always, when we get a new listener, they get a clap. And we've got someone here called Hannahverse. She's a new listener. What have they got to say for themselves? What's she got to say for herself, Bobby?
The first female protagonist video game character that had a real impact on me was Meryl in Metal Gear Solid 1. I think I was about 5 years old, and I remember being in awe of how strong she was. Gaming nowadays, I like that all female protagonists aren't made to be sexualized now. There are so many more to be mentioned, but if you have really had an impact on me, are Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn, Ellie from The Last of Us, being a member of the LGBT community myself, I really resonate with Ellie, and Nadine from Uncharted.
Yeah. Ellie, I thought Ellie was quite a strong character because there's only hints in the first one, then you get the DLC and you sort of experience that playthrough of her surviving with her sort of first girlfriend. And then how that flows into The Last of Us 2, I thought there's a lot of studios sort of messed that up. But for me, I mean, I can't really relate, can I? Because I'm a guy playing through this game. But to me, I thought it was wonderfully done. And Naughty Dog, they can go all out and Uncharted and turn it into a Hollywood blockbuster. But The Last of Us is... I mean, I still play The Last of Us on PS3. You know, I like my original hardware. But, you know, it still provokes thoughts, you know, and feelings and emotions. And Ellie's right at the front and centre of that. Again, I'm waiting for you to finish The Last of Us 2 so we can probably deeply talk about the story.
Yeah, definitely got to do that.
It was great. Back to the feature. According to Madeline Messer, writing in the Washington Post in 2015, among the top 50 endless running games for mobile devices, 98% of those with gender identifiable characters featured male protagonists, of which 90% were free to play. As many as 46% of these games offered female characters, and only 15% offered them for free. Playing as a girl required on average an additional purchase of $7.53, more than the games themselves cost. That's like a hard line. Like there's a barrier to entry for a female player there, which I'm not actually sure that's okay. I find, again, doing the research, we come up with this sort of stuff every week. We try and do as much research as possible. And when I saw $7.53, you know, for me, a lot of mobile games are played by young girls or young boys. You know, it's their system in their hand. They spend a lot of time in the back of the car. It's like the modern day Game Boy in a way. To think that a girl might want to play as a girl in a game and you go into the online store within that game and it's £7.53, that's not just pocket change to a kid. That's a lot of money. So that I've got to lump it and play as a guy or ask Mumsy and Dadsy for £7.53. And I can't see Mumsy and Dadsy saying, oh, yeah, okay. They might, but it seems like an awful lot of money for in the parents' eyes, not thinking about the gender identification. They're just thinking that's a lot of money for a stupid little game.
It's true.
Which again, it makes me kind of sad as a father of a girl myself, and obviously we're all someone's daughter, we're all someone's son. We've all got a mother. I do find all this quite difficult to take. Obviously, I like to think that I've not been involved in it. And, you know, I guess as some of the ladies touch on, I think when we get through the comments, the industry kind of knows what sells. It's just a shame that it's a male-dominated industry, because I think these interactive stories should be enjoyed by everybody. Another new listener. Who have we got, Bobby?
Euster.
We'll go with that. I think it
sounds good,
based on Yuffie from Final Fantasy. But Euster. You say tomato, I say tomato.
I like it. She writes, hiya. So female representation in games have massively changed for the better. No longer are females portrayed as needing to be saved, Mario, Zelda, or as a sex figure, Lara Croft, but as relatable, funny, and interesting characters that have really great backstories. Take The Last of Us 2, for example. Having Ellie as a lesbian and Abby as muscular wouldn't have been a thing 20 years ago. No. It's wholesome to see and to experience in gameplay. It's empowering playing as a strong woman in games that aren't just there to be pleasing on the eye or for the main protagonist's love interest. Which is very true.
Yeah, I think the Abby Muscular thing was quite is quite salient because I remember there being quite a lot of pushback. Oh, she looks too butch, and it's like, dude, she looks like a woman who's surviving a post-apocalyptic world. There's no anyone doing fetching and carrying. There's no machines. You've got to literally grab and climb and lift and carry around an AK-47 or an M16 or whatever, and they've got weight and they've got heft, and you're going to end up getting big arms. I just totally took it as being that's just the cursory reason, payoff of living in this world. You're going to get strong. Abby wasn't unbeautiful.
Yeah, you're not going to look like a Victoria's Secret model.
You're just not.
There's no way.
They're the first thing to get eaten by a clicker.
You're not going to survive. You're going to be dead. So you got to adapt, and physical work is going to make you look physically empowering or imposing, really. I mean, it's common sense.
Totally
just
agree.
Me.
Someone who's not a new listener, but thank you for reaching out again. It's CJ Nintendo, so thank you for getting in contact on this one. She says, "Oh, that's a good one. I personally feel that video games have gotten so much better at female representation. For the older consoles and generations, there wasn't many female-led video games. Metroid and Tomb Raider were great ones for being frontline for doing it. But now there's so many females in a wide range of genres, and they're portrayed differently depending on the game, which is great too. Instead of being just a princess needing saving, it's moved to girls doing the saving. Laugh until she cries emoji. A great example for me personally is Zelda, as in the older games she was one of the third at the Triforce, didn't really contribute much, and now she's truly evolving between a portrayal in Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, and Breath of the Wild. Satisfied little smile emoji. So yeah,
she definitely had a change of pace.
Even
Peach, she gets involved now too.
Well, Peach was it was Doki Doki Panic, I believe, but obviously they did a sprite swap, and we got Mario 2 or the Lost, whichever way round it was. And you were able to play as Peach very early on, and she had that floaty dress, which meant she could do.
Yeah, I picked her the most. I'm like, I can do the most. I could have a safer time playing with her than anybody else.
Exactly, yeah.
That little float, I can make that jump or avoid that enemy.
Or you can even, what I liked about playing a series, you could try, and it was like, I'm not going to make it, but I'm just behind halfway. So I could turn around and float back down and rethink my strategy. Whereas if you were playing as Mario or Toad or Luigi, it was like, oh no. There is no way, and you fall to your death. So, yeah, I thought, goodness knows which came first. I mean, we're about to find out. So Samus Aran, I'll have my teeth back when you finish with them, Bobby. Samus Aran, the heroine of Metroid 1986, and its successor, is often cited as the first playable human female character in a mainstream video game. However, other games featured female characters such as Billy Sue from Wabbit in 1982, Miss Pac-Man in 1982, Becky from Otemba Becky no Daibuken, 1983. Barbie, the legendary Barbie, got her own game in 1984. Alice in 1984. Pat Pree from Girls Garden, 1984. Jenny from Jenny of the Prairie in 1984. Toby Matsui, Kissy from Baraduke in 1985. Karumi Hime from The Ninja Princess in 85. Flash Girl in 85. Alexandra from Lode Runner's Rescue, if you remember that, from 1985. Athena in 86. Chris from Alpha, 86. Key from The Return of Ishtar, or Valkyrie from Valkyrie no Boken in 1986. Lara Croft, the protagonist of Tomb Raider 1996, is among the best-known strong fictional women in variety of media. Since her introduction in 1996, the character of Croft has been criticised for unrealistic breast size. Lara's claim to personify an ongoing culture clash over gender, sexuality, empowerment, and objectification. In the 2008 Tomb Raider title, Croft was depicted in hot pants and midriffs and was said to look like she was dressed by a male. However, in his defense, the game's creators maintained that she was not designed with marketing in mind and claimed to have been surprised at her pin-up style adoration. In Tomb Raider Legend, Lara underwent a radical redesign, ostensibly to make her less sexualized. To be fair, I kind of half believe what they're saying. I think they knew what they were doing, but never expected Tomb Raider to blow up the way it did. It launched on Saturn first, to very lukewarm opinion. Then PlayStation took it and pumped the game, really, and it took off. And obviously, to be fair, when the PlayStation launched, it wasn't pocket change. So, either these were very lucky kids or the dads were buying an awful lot, or the adults, or I was a young teen with income, so I bought a PlayStation 1 at launch. But yeah, and I got Tomb Raider, and I thought it was a great game, but I never, because the way the graphics were, I find it hard. I don't know, but I didn't look and go, oh yeah, hot. I want to see those polygons stripped to skin color. I just found all that a little bit sort of mute. I took it more as just how the graphics were to show it was a woman than thinking, oh, she's got an unrealistic breast size. But then again,
we're on two different boats, bro. Because when I was a young teen,
yeah,
that's the only reason why I bought Tomb Raider 4.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm like, wow, this is amazing, right? Now I get to play with this character the whole journey. This is awesome. But then eventually I played it for that reason.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, it's amazing. But then I'm like, oh, wow, I'm getting into the story now, just totally forgetting about how she's dressed.
How old were you? Do you think it was a difference in our ages?
I don't know. When did it come out? 96?
96, yeah.
Let's do some math. Hold on.
I was like 17, 18.
I go to the calculator. I'm standby.
Dear listeners, you wait while Bobby works out his age. I love it. This is what they came for.
Hold on. I was 13.
Okay, so there was a stark difference. Obviously, at 13, you're thinking about where you're at in the world, and sometimes these things are enough to get your blood flowing, whereas I was 18 and been out and around uptown in reality. And to me, I saw her more like Ripley from Aliens, but in my mind, I didn't find her overly sexual. I guess it was kind of cool to be playing as a girl, but I never was like, oh, yeah. I didn't go get some private time after 20 minutes of Tomb Raider, where I guess at 13, you probably did. So,
yeah, different age group for sure.
Okay, moving on in this PG podcast very swiftly. April Ryan from The Longest Journey 1999, a point-and-click adventure video game developed by Norwegian studio Funcom for Microsoft Windows and released in 1999, had been compared to Lara Croft. As she knows less prominent physical feminine attributes than Lara, she shows less prominent physical feminine attributes than Lara, but more feminine psychological traits, as she contrasted with Lara's masculine connotations like aggressiveness and force. One of my favourite games here, so it had to get mentioned. Contrarily, Jade, the protagonist of Beyond Good and Evil 2003, was widely recognised as a strong and confident female character lacking any overt sexualisation. The year 2013 featured women in leading roles in a number of award-winning games, such as The Last of Us 2013, Bioshock Infinite 2013, the rebooted Tomb Raider into 2013, and a game that I think is really great, maturely written, strong female character, Beyond Two Souls. I implore anyone to get a copy of that and play it. I think it's wonderful. A study of these games found that although the leading female characters in these games were able to subvert predominant gender stereotypes, women were still limited by men in the narratives, in particular through benevolent sexism. Yes, one would...
I mean, imagine being a guy and then trying to write a story from a female's point of view.
Yeah.
Unless you have a bunch of female friends helping you with this, you're not going to fully grasp what the woman has to go through in an everyday life or in the story you're creating to make it believable.
I think that's a solid point. Obviously, a lot of games are written from a man's point of view of what he thinks a woman feels. And, recently in the UK, there's been the murder of a lady by a police officer, and that's created some very strong feelings about females being out and feeling threatened at nighttime. Even now, as a father of a daughter, I shudder at the thought of my daughter walking past a building site and getting a wolf whistle and things like that. It makes my skin crawl. And the way that some men speak about women. But if you think of it from their point of view, society and everything's sort of forced them to be these sort of put upon ladies that just accept it. They're kind of overly sexualized, have to conform to all these ideals and things. And it isn't okay. There's a lot of junk to put in a young girl's mind there that they've got to live through. And when they want to have that escape through the medium of video games, like, yes, they need to be well written so they can identify, but it also needs to be an escape. But I think the games are starting to get it right. Beyond Two Souls recently played through Remember Me with a female protagonist and thought that was the game wasn't great, but there was definitely some strong writing for the female character. She gets, don't want to spoil that, but she gets subjected to some really interesting decisions at the end of the game that really work quite well. So, yeah, it's
because if you think about it, like at least over here in New York, right? You're a guy, you get up, put on some sweatpants and a hoodie, and go outside. No one's gonna say one thing to you, bro.
no.
Not, no one even cares. But you go outside with sweatpants and a hoodie, and you're a woman, and it's like, oh, what are you covering up your body for? Or, oh, why are you being lazy? Or, oh, you don't look a certain way that I expect you to look in my male brain.
Yeah.
Which is like ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is the culture now. Everything on TV, there's so many things a female thinks she has to appear, or, how can I say this? She has to think a certain way that the males will accept her. When in reality, listen, go outside in your hoodie and your sweatpants, and that's it. If anybody says something to you, listen, see ya. Do whatever you have to do. I mean, no one. And honestly, those are the kind of guys that you don't need in your life. Just see ya. That's just toxic.
Well, I like to think karma will give those guys daughters, and then they can have a long, hard think about what they've said to women along the way. Because
I mean, if you think
their
about
opinion will change.
Even me us as males, we grew up. Okay, we're like women. As we get older, our views change from what we like as teenagers to what we like as adults now, right?
Yes.
Looks fade, beauty fades, whatever. But where's the intimate, connection? Are you smart? Do you have any goals? This, and that. Like, okay, yeah, you look pretty. That's great. But you don't have to look pretty to be accepted or be, a powerful, empowering woman. You don't just be yourself, really. Just accept that and keep walking.
Yeah, again, in the face of some mountain catcalls and whatnot, it takes a really strong woman to just keep going, regardless. But again, I like to think that we're in the turn. We're not fully there. I still think it's going to happen. I still don't agree with it, and I've never been, one of those sort of chasers or one of these overtly sort of those guys. So maybe we're probably the wrong people to speak about it. But certainly, from the medium that we're in, which is video games, I think there's enough women getting into the industry and playing the games where developers have realised, actually, we need to sort this.
Yeah, and now women are working in games, doing everything. So now you're getting more of their.
Well, I'll say this. I don't know why I was shocked. Maybe because I'm a male, but obviously I watch all sorts of gaming documentaries, and the ones I like are the ones that the studios make at the time of the game. And God of War 2 has got a documentary about it. Considering what that game is like with its representation of females in the game, I was shocked to see how many women were involved in making it and enjoying making Kratos as a character who is, I mean, he just is like almost the antichrist to females in games, because he's got his women lying around half naked, and you would think that game probably came out of like the same mindset of a studio that created Lara Croft, but actually no. There was actually a lot of women involved in making that game. So whether they didn't feel their voice was worth it, or maybe they just thought, if we've made this character Kratos, these are the way he would act, this is the way he would treat women. Also, it's kind of a historical tale set in a time before any of this was really a thing. So yeah, but in that regard, we see Kratos change, because his opinion towards women by the end of 2018's God of War is completely different. He's settled down. He's a one-woman guy. He's recently gone through a very severe loss and learning to raise a son on his own. So the industry is maturing. I think, if we'd have got a God of War 3, God of War Ascension, God of War 2 reboot on PlayStation 4, I just don't think it would have hit home. So fair play to them for maybe even changing male stereotypes in games to the point where it probably represents people like you and I better.
Yeah.
What's next, Bobby?
We got a new listener. Toxis. Boba Loba's. But now I don't have a voice for her, and I feel like.
You think it should be read in Boba Loba's voice?
No, because she'd probably be even more elegant. And I don't know if we can do that.
No, you're right.
I don't know if we can do that on
If he's the finest comments podcast can buy, hers are like.
Well, we can't buy. That's the problem.
No, we can't.
Yeah.
Toxis needs to get in the Discord.
Yeah, so I'm just going to read it normal.
Okay.
Because nothing can do her justice, really.
Okay.
So here we go. I feel female representation in gaming has changed over the years, but it's still very sexualized, with the majority of games having a male lead with a female character being a secondary role. With women now taking up to 40% of the gaming demographic and more women entering into the gaming industry as a profession, I feel this will continue to develop. The gaming industry has been slowly moving from the 90s Lara Croft of big boobs and tiny waists to a more independent, strong female heroine, which I feel most men enjoy playing. I don't think we will ever get away from sexualization, male or female, in gaming, because let's face it, sex sells. However, we are seeing a more respectful way of portraying a character. There will always be games like Grand Theft Auto that let the side down, but we now have more modern mindsets in gaming industry with more of an imagination, such as Neil Druckmann and his team working on The Last of Us 2, making Ellie their leading female protagonist. Overall, more women are entering the gaming industry, and men now have a more modern, respectful opinion of women. So the portrayal of women in games will continue to develop, and who knows, maybe women will take over. A winking emoji.
Yeah, I mean,
it's super true.
Very true. Very, very. Do you know what? Toxis does the very best comments a podcast can buy. That was really good. I feel like maybe Grand Theft Auto gets a bit of a kick because those same people made Red Dead Redemption 2, where, you know, Sadie Adler and some other strong female, especially considering that it's an historical tale, they got really out there with Sadie Adler and made her. She was one of my favorite characters in the game.
Yeah, she was amazing.
Yeah, she was.
So I mean, sometimes when you're making a story, right, there's going to be side characters. And some of those side characters might not make the best decisions or be the best morale, but it's real life.
Yeah.
So you can't have every man and woman super strong, right? Sometimes they go to the dark side, or sometimes they do things that you don't morally think is correct, but listen, it's a story. So if you could just portray it like that, listen, I got a strong female character. She's going through some stuff, but here's some other female characters going through some hard times.
Yeah.
Then it is what it is. You can't I don't think you should not have that anymore. I think you can build on it because in real life, there's all walks of life. So you're making a video game, you have to think of that too. And you could have a secondary male character. Who cares? What's the big deal? As long as the story is interesting, bro. I don't really care.
I wouldn't want, and I know there probably needs to be some kind of forced positive female lead roles to shift the industry, but I wouldn't want box ticking to overtake what I feel is one of the best storytelling mediums out there. It's better than movies, it's better than TV, it's better than a book. In my opinion, that's what I feel about gaming. There's all sorts of games, there's throwaway, feel-good games, but you know, when you get a strong narrative, story-driven, one-player game, I would always scream for that to be, don't let anything get in the way of telling this. If you've come up with a good story and you can if you can add these sections in to bolster it and make it stronger and even more resonant, brilliant. But don't wind all the way back and your starting motives be X, because the game's going to suffer as a result, and then you're going to end up getting critical kickback and you're not going to achieve the aims that you want to do. So make sure the story's nailed on. And if that works within a certain narrative, you nailed it. But the story needs to be, for me anyway, I don't know, you know.
Well, it makes sense because I think even in movies or TV shows, when you're forcing something, because, you know, you have to have it in.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. If you're making a Yakuza game right? I mean, it's the culture also. You're not going to have, a couple Irish people in there. I mean, it's going to be very rare if there is. So why would you have them in there? Oh, I have to have an Irish person. I have to have, a gender equality or whatever. Yeah, you don't have to have it in every game. Some games are just the game and that's it.
Yeah.
But if you're making a story, my cats are fighting for some reason. But if you're making a story and it's a natural progression,
yes,
and you're not forcing certain things, like you said, like a checkbox, that story is going to be far better off.
Agreed. In 2014, the developers' choice to omit playable women in the latest iterations of the top-tier gaming franchise Assassin's Creed and Far Cry became a focus of discussions in gaming media. This indicated, according to game industry professionals cited by Polygon, a shift in the industry's attention towards issues of diversity in gaming in conjunction with video games as a whole, growing beyond their former core audience of younger men. On the subject of Assassin's Creed, quite nicely interwoven, Bobby, we have a new listener. Who've we got?
It's Kells_Creed. Well, I can say things have changed a fair bit over the years, slowly more focused on female protagonists. But let's take Assassin's Creed as an example. In AC Odyssey, Cassandra was supposed to be the main character, canon. But because of the male audience who got offended if they play as a female, they added Alexios. In my opinion, that's just not the right thing. Same goes for Origins. Aya is the actual founder of the Hidden Ones. You get the evidence also in AC Valhalla if you visited all the Hidden One bureaus. I think that if a female character fits more, then you should just make it a female lead.
Yeah.
Not adding a male just because of the sales. If a game is more suited for a male character, then pick a male. My English is not that great, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. There has been more equality for females, and I respect the sisterhood that is founded. We have to stand up, and I hope things get better in time. Well, first of all, that was perfectly written.
Yeah, it was better than our English, so
100%.
Fair play to Kells Creed. Also, if anyone wants to reach out to any of these girls or girls, ladies, women, forgive me. Again, I'm dreadful, really. It's a male podcast, so I'm doing my absolute best to be as gentle as we can on this subject and be respectful as we can. But all these young ladies are on Instagram, so if you want to form up a sisterhood, as you say, on there, or pop in the Discord, and we can make a locked area called the Sisterhood where you can discuss games and stuff. I'm all for that. Why not?
If that's true, what she said about Odyssey, I can believe it now because Cassandra's voice actor is phenomenal.
That's a very quotable thing in gaming opinion. Yeah.
The voice actor, the little things she said under her breath, stuff like that, it just seemed more natural than having Alexios. I felt like he was just not. I mean, no disrespect to the guy, I just didn't like his voice and how he spoke.
Well, I
was going to pick Cassandra regardless.
In Syndicate, the thing that put me off the game, up until then, Rogue was okay, but the guy was a little bit blah. I actually thought 3 was good because that Native American Indian I thought was actually quite well written, and I've done some research. And although people say, "Oh, he's wooden," it's like, well, actually, at the time they told him to be wooden because that's how Native American Indians spoke, because they struggled to. Their mouth didn't really work with the English language because their tongue had developed muscles in different ways.
Of course,
so they kind of spoke in this really wooden, formative way. So, I if they do it right, it's fantastic. And when we got to Syndicate, you could play as a brother or a sister. And the brother was, for me, terrible. Put me off playing the game. Whereas the female, quite rightly, has got some really great lines. She's a really great character. She's really fleshed out. She's much more believable, and her story has more heft. Whereas he's a bit like I'm a bloke, sort of like. Whether it's written like that on purpose to make you think she was better, I don't know. But yeah, I just couldn't even finish the game. I mean, at that point, as we know, I was all Assassin's Creed out. I've been back to back to back to back. But
listen, a bad actor can kill anything.
It just seemed very. I don't know. I'm a stickler for that time historically as well, and some of the things he came out with sounded a bit youth cool for Victorian times. So I kind of was like, Assassin's Creed normally goes it's all out. You're talking people speak, Norwegian or whatever in the levels of when he's back at his home country. People aren't even speaking English, even though you speak English when you talk. So then to hear him be like, "Oh, what, mate?" It was like, nah. Anyway, the announcement trailer for Battlefield 5 was met with backlash from some fans of the series who were frustrated with the portrayal of women in the game, specifically with a British woman featured in the trailer as a British woman never participated in frontline combat during World War II and most relegated to supporting roles. Again, it's either a game or it's not. I guess what they were trying to do is open up a new demographic for that game. I'd imagine it's very, very, very male dominated. I want a war simulator. I want to feel like I'm in the trenches. I want to feel like I'm doing this or that or the other. And they want it to be very realistic. But a lot of the stories, they're very on rails. They're not very realistic anyway. One of the best sort of World War II games I've ever played is Band of Brothers. Band of Brothers, Brothers in Arms, which was a lot more realistic to the way war and World War II was fought. Like Call of Duty and Battlefield, if you ran around like that, shooting like you were at a paintball match, you'd be dead.
Yeah.
It was all about suppressing fire and cover. So those same people saying, "Oh, I want realistic." Okay. Well, the game's
it's definitely not.
It's going to be completely different. You want Battlefield 1 to be basically you stood in a trench, kind of cowered up, getting shelled for 24 days straight, and then poking your head above and getting shot in the face and it being game. That would make a very good game, would it? So I always found that particular internet outrage of guys saying, "Oh, why is there a woman in it?" I believe it was only in the multiplayer section anyway. And at that point, well, as you say, you quite like playing as a female character in a game. So why can't you play as a female in the online?
If you're going to make a historically accurate game, then make it historically accurate.
Absolutely super.
So there were no women in the front. Okay, cool. That's a cool fact. Okay. So also historically accurate. Well, like you just said, stay here for 3 days. See what's happening over there. Send a scout. Oh, he didn't come back. Now what do we do? Or we're getting pinned down. Well, I can't shoot 3 people with two bullets, but in a video game I can. So really make it historically accurate.
Yeah.
Jack, if you're gonna make a Civil War game, make it accurate. Don't add things just because you have to add them.
I mean, there is also, a really historically accurate Civil War game, isn't there? I can't remember what it's called, like Blood and Smoke or something.
Yeah, there is.
I wish that came to modern consoles. I get on a bit of a sideline, but that is absolutely historically accurate. And it's got a very niche audience for that reason. Battlefield 5 is never going to be historically accurate. I don't care what people say. It's not historically accurate. If you've ever been in war or involved in the forces in any way, shape, or form, those games are pure Hollywood.
In my opinion, I feel Sniper Elite 3, just playing that game, was more accurate than any other war game I played, because if you don't get out of the way, they hear you, it's over.
Yeah.
They're relentless. So you have to, avoid move location.
Well, I think our man from Rebellion, he's very into his historical accuracy, so that's probably leveraged that to be a real solid game. Looks like we've got another new listener. Who's in the post bag?
Hazard WR. So maybe he was a wide receiver. I'm not too sure.
It's a lady.
Okay, she was a wide receiver, possibly. WR. Hello.
See, it's an American footballism.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I personally don't think so, but you never know. There might be into American football.
Hello. I think the biggest thing I've seen in the past few weeks is the diversity of body types. There's definitely room for improvement, as ever. But as someone who works in the powerlifting and repeatedly hears worries from femme-presenting clients about getting bulky, and the prevalence of shaming women with visible muscle mass, particularly via social media, having characters coming way from the standard we become accustomed to, is really wonderful to see. As I said, there's absolutely room for improvement, but I don't see the improvements implemented so far going anywhere, even with some very loud objectors. I tend to be pretty cynical about representation of women in games, but you probably guessed this already. The female characters of The Last of Us 2 felt fleshed out, diverse, and pretty realistic. Certainly wasn't a cut and paste job with some different skins and weapons. It didn't feel like a total tokenism. Here's a lass who is a bit chunky. Here's a girl who doesn't need a man. I think something said. I think something said friend mentioned, which I found really interesting, was that as much as the content is changing regarding women characters in games, the work environment is still really slow on the uptake, which is a shame. I'm sure there are studios and companies where that's less true, but it's why I'm curious to pay them too hard on the back for small victories.
Well, true. Hazard WR had a lot of comments, and I probably didn't didn't copy and paste them all. But she had a friend who was in the industry who was saying that the attitudes and the content is changing, but there's still a lot of work to do, and the environment of uptaking. I mean, to get in the games industry now, when the industry started going, it was bedroom coders, it was nerdy lads with books doing coding in their bedroom for the C64 Spectrum and all that sort of stuff. Now it's a fully grown career path where you think, I want to be involved in making games. So you do art, or you do maths, and you do English, and you do all that. And then you get to university and you double down on these actual courses built to give you a career in video games. There needs to be something that pulls females through into that. Because again, I think that a lot of them, I don't really want to work in games because that's what blokes do. No. Why is a bloke good at typing on a keyboard? Why is a bloke, why is that a bloke's domain? Females are obviously equally as good as using a keyboard to type code. They're equally as good with a pen and a pencil and drawing these characters and writing their stories and piecing it all together and being a video game, director. Look at Amy Hennig, some of the best games to come out of the industry. The Last of Us Part 1 and the Uncharted series, Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, all written and directed by her. And she did realistic female characters, but she also did amazingly well-written male characters or schlock Hollywood characters that really fit the bill. So there needs to be more. I think she's a standout, for want of a better word, and I think she's passionately involved in the industry, and probably needs to be more recognised and more rewarded. But she has got a name under the credits of some of the biggest games in the last 10 years. So one would hope, as represented as she is, could do with a new game. I feel I've loved everything that she's done to this point. I mean, a lot of people be like, Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, really? Like, yeah. Uncharted 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. Didn't write 4. I mean, got halfway through writing it and moved on, but also involved in The Last of Us as well. So, really solid writing. If you go all the way back to when she was obviously a younger person working in the industry, Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver is some people still to this day favorite game of all time, a game that's guilty of a remaster. And I think that that would again highlight her skill, in my opinion, because that game still plays real sweet today.
Agreed.
What's next, Bobby? Who's next out of the post bag?
We got a new listener. My Sweet Doom. I like that. I personally think it's getting better in terms of female representation, but we still have a long way to go, as there is still some toxicity in online gaming and other areas. That's very true.
Okay. Well,
online is just bro.
Don't get me started. It's
you can call anybody you want behind a headset.
I have nothing to do with it because of how toxic it is, in my opinion. Like, I know people are like, oh yeah, but just go on private chat and have this, and there's still people being toxic. There's still people griefing you, ruining your game, and like, nah. Until that's a better reflection. Like, I don't walk down the street. I mean, we talked at the start of the show about how women can't walk down the street without getting griefed, but in a game, I can't walk down the street without getting griefed by somebody. And that doesn't happen in real life. So the actual majority of toxic people online will feel braver to be toxic because they've got the animosity of being behind a screen or a controller is ramped up to 100%. You see it in social media, which is why it's like, no, not for me.
Meanwhile, if you're next to them, throw a little shrug at them, like a little, go at them real quick. They'll fall on the floor and roll around and cry.
Yeah, I think there's
like most bullies.
Anonymity makes people awfully brave, and I if ever someone reached out to me and said, or what you said to me in that online game upset me, I'll be the first person to apologise. I'm not here to upset anybody. Definitely not. Same with the show. If anything we ever said offended somebody, there's differing opinions. Don't get me wrong, and that's fine and that's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But if we said, "Oh, XYZ listener's an idiot," or anyone who listens to this show is a fool, or you can have different opinions, but that's I think sometimes as well where the line's getting a little bit foggy. It's like we don't all have to agree, but as long as we're respectful and courteous to each other, you can have your opinion, I can have mine. You can say, okay, that's fine, that's cool. If that's what you're into, that's awesome. Thanks for bringing it to my attention. I don't agree. I think it's X, and you think it's Y, but that's what makes society great. And I think there's this misting where you can't be on one side or the other without being called out. And it's like, well, no, you can be, just as long as you're respectful in issuing your opinion. You don't have to agree with everybody all of the time.
I mean, that's who would agree with everybody all the time? Nobody.
No, exactly. So, up next, C. Pliskin. He says it all here. So, all right, everyone, Professor Pliskin is here, and you're about to get schooled. So, being a very strong male character here. This is unfortunately something that's out of my depth personally, as I haven't played many games that feature a specific female lead. However, one that I personally really liked is more so a pairing of heroines, those being Chloe Frazier and Nadine Ross from Uncharted The Lost Labyrinth. Absolutely great game. A few short months, I finished 4 for my 16th birthday. I was surprised in December to see a new adventure starring those two same characters, and personally, I wasn't looking forward to it. Not the fact there were female characters, because they weren't Nathan Drake, and really, I couldn't see another Uncharted adventure with him nowhere in sight. It wasn't until last year, before the start of the term, that I finally got round to playing Lost Legacy, and while it's most definitely a smaller slice of a larger game, what makes this title unique from other entries in the series is thanks to its character dynamics. Both characters start the title seeing the other as a means to an end. Chloe to help find her father's lost legacy. Boom, title drop, laughing till he cries ×2 emoji, close brackets. While Nadine wants to help buy back her father's military company, Shoreline. Over the course of the story, but characters feel a great sense of camaraderie with each other. Still, one of my favourite lines is when Nadine says, look, monkeys. What about them? I like monkeys. It's so brief between the two, but it makes me laugh when I consider her militaristic attitude mixed with that tidbit on her. I wouldn't call it the best story I played, though, but it definitely reminds me of the cinematic level of suspense, action, and warmth that 4 did so well. And as for my opinion on female protagonists in games, personally, I'm okay with it to an extent anyway. Don't take this the wrong way, but personally, I feel like these various perspectives on different people is important for the arts to keep fresh. My only concern are for titles that try to force in, say, a strong female lead in a story for the sake of it. Though I haven't seen many examples of that, so at least there's that. And I apologise if I offended anyone by accident. Hands clasped in prayer emoji.
Well, Lost Legacy was amazing.
It was. And those two characters, Claudia Black is amazing in Farscape, a show that I really love. She's a strong female character in that. And she brings that across as Chloe in, I think the first time you meet her is in Uncharted 2.
Mm-hmm.
She's a bit of a ne'er-do-well, so to speak. And then she's part of your crew in Uncharted 3. And obviously in Lost Legacy, yeah, she's fantastic. And
I could do a sequel for this, for sure.
Lost Legacy?
100%.
That I would be less inclined to than a crew barge Uncharted 5 with getting him out of, retirement or playing as his daughter. And it's not that I don't want, I think playing his daughter wouldn't be interesting. I think that Uncharted's done. Rest it, do another Lost Legacy, or do something new. Unfortunately, I've got to speak again because it's Bada Binks to Retro Gaming. I've started playing a Control, and I guess she's a badass character in that. To quote one good CE12, I feel like I should do a Metal Gear with a female protagonist, maybe Meryl spin-off. What do you guys think? I don't know what I think about that. It's a very short comment for once. Oh, he's got another one, so at least we've got the controller and the stand-up sit-down.
Yeah.
Who's next?
That was definitely a reply.
Yeah, I think so, to a young adult man who 100%. We may get to later on. Who is next out the post bag, good sir?
Finch the Gamer.
Yes.
As a testament to the history of female characters in gaming, this year is the 25th anniversary of both Resident Evil and Tomb Raider franchises. I think that this shows, despite a lot of the sexist views today surrounding the reluctancy to play as a female protagonist, that long-lasting, groundbreaking series can be built on the backs of those heroines. As a massive Tomb Raider fan and a bit of Resident Evil fanboy, I, for one, feel the female leads to be much more well-rounded characters than their male counterparts.
Yeah.
I agree. From Laura and Natalia to Jill Valentine, Claire Redfield, and Ada Wong, the female characters, for me personally, have carried these series into legendary status that they hold. Facts. When I played Resident Evil, boom, Jill Valentine.
Snap.
Instantly.
And
also, she's a master of lockpicking. That also helped.
Yeah.
You know,
I just think that generally Finster's right there. And it gets swept under the carpet in the discussion of females in video games every single time. Everyone pulls out, and we're guilty of it, Samus Aran. Everyone pulls out Lara Croft. Do you know what? Although I think Resident Evil first launched in like 96-ish, 97, I think, when it first came over here in an English translation. I played it and thought it was fantastic. And, you know, same Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil, I can't remember 3, but I think you play a female in that as well. And in Code Veronica as well, absolutely fantastic, strong female lead.
Yeah.
I don't know why anyone would have a problem with that. The game, you know, my personal probably guilty pleasure, and it's the one I've probably dabbled with the most, is Code Veronica. And I you know, that game's not held back at all. In fact, it flourishes with a female character in the lead. It really does. So, yeah, I don't.
Well, these females may have not been the lead, but Tyrus Flare from Golden Axe. Okay, think about that time era they're in. Being a female, already tough enough. Okay, and she's in there swinging a sword next to Axe Battler and what's his name? Gilius Thunderhead.
Yeah.
Right? So she's in there. You got Blaze from Streets of Rage. I mean, I don't know how that, you know, she just fit well. It wasn't like she was forced in there. I thought she was one of the best characters in there. I like playing as her more than Axel and Adam. Yeah. That's for sure. She was in all of them. In 4, she's good. You got the new girl, Cherry. She's fine. There's just so many back in the day, like Hannah Dundee, one of my favorite beat 'em ups of all time. Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. She's in there. She's great. I think she has the best move set of all the characters in there. I mean, I think in the comic book she was kind of the star. I'm not really sure, but definitely a highlight. No one mentions about those old school characters like that. Even the fighting games. I mean, Chun Li is probably right below Ryu. Just right there. She was an amazing character too.
She's strong, a little bit drawn a little bit.
Yeah, well, they all have their, you know, stereotypes, and they've written the game for them, but that's just, you know, overly stereotype. But all fighting games, I think, kind of do.
Agreed.
But they're still in there.
By the way, it's Harvey Retro's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
I went on a watch along on his Discord channel because obviously he's part of Enigmatic Play, and we watched Big Trouble in Little China. I went and put my Jack Burton vest on for him.
Let me explain something to you. I didn't know what that was when I got the notification.
You should have joined.
So I was like, I don't know what that is. I did look at it, and then when I opened it, it's ended. I'm like, what's ended? I was like, oh no. And I wanted to watch that with people.
They streamed the film, and I got to enjoy it with Harvey and Johan. It was great. It was like we were sat on the same couch together.
And that's a movie I've been wanting to watch with somebody for the longest time, and I blew it.
And obviously, Harvey and Johan using their film critiques.
I would have
in the
just
industry.
Sat there.
It was amazing.
Oh my god!
It was. I love that film anyway, and I've gone off and researched it independently. But some of the nuances that Harvey and Johan brought in, I was like, you know, this film's great, and you know, it segued into lots of conversations. But it was just
I'm so upset, man.
Well, next time you see one pop up, you need to get involved.
Now I know what that was. I'm like, I thought it was just a message. I was kind of busy. If I would have known that, listen, pause. I'm sitting back on the couch.
Well, anyway, Birthday Boy says, my favourite game protagonists of all time are women. Lara Croft, Jill Valentine, Lightning from Final Fantasy 13. There's another solid point. Lightning in Final Fantasy 13, a game that I played through last year. She's great. There's a few characters in Final Fantasy 13 that are really strong, well written. A new addition, Abby from The Last of Us 2. I think the representation of women in games is similar to films. It's got better. In the early days, purely the damsel in distress waiting to be saved by a man. Then moving on to being the heroine, but still needing a man for certain segments, like, for example, Barry Burton going to Jill Valentine's rescue several times, preventing her from being a sandwich. Then we had the original Lara Croft, a strong, capable woman delivering one-liners in cutscenes like a 90s action movie star, but definitely seen as a sex object. Looking at it today, there's a new Lara, which I still like, but the trouble with making her serious and gritty is a lot of the fun charm has been stripped away. That's probably quite true, actually. It's lost some of its... He's right, it's lost some of its charm to be a more gritty realisation. Still eloquently done, but the Tomb Raider game of then is very different to the Tomb Raider game of now. I'd quite like to see a more gung-ho style game, but we're probably not going to get it anymore. And then there's the incredible complex characters like Abby in The Last of Us 2, someone I didn't expect to warm to, but really did, purely because of the amount of development in a story arc that you could totally empathise with. I don't want to ruin it for you, Bobby, but you're not a fan of her when the game starts. By the end of the game, you're like absolutely rooting for her like no other game I've ever played. I wanted the game to carry on for another 20 hours playing as Abby. And a lot of people are like, oh, but Joel, like, forget it.
See, I kind of have the same argument with Walking Dead fans. I like Negan. People think Negan's the ultimate bad guy. But if you watch the TV show, I mean, how would you react if someone snuck into your camp and did what they did? Who's really the bad guy? From whose view are you watching it from?
That's completely it.
Because you're watching it from the view of the good guys, then what they did was fine. But the other flip side, well, I wasn't even bothering you. So you came over here, which here's retaliation. If it happened to them, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Rick didn't have a choice. He had to bash Negan's head in with a bat.
Mm-hmm.
Who's next?
We got Young Adult Man, a.k.a. Juan GD30CE12. I got to ask him what this is about.
I know. Why don't you nail both of his comments together as well, just because they're obviously separated.
Okay, copy that. Well, he goes, okay, but I have to say one game that reminds me of strong, hardcore women, crying emoji, is going to be Perfect Dark. Joanna is a badass. She isn't scared of fighting aliens. That game was a classic. But also, let me mention the girl from Jet Force Gemini and also Dixie Kong from Donkey Kong 64.
That is a serious callback. Have you played Jet Force Gemini?
Nope.
Possibly my favourite. It's not aged very well, sadly, but possibly one of my, at the time, and for the longest time, a game Iron Herald was my favourite game on N64.
Really?
There's 3 characters that you finish as, and I think I finished it as all 3. I couldn't get enough of it. I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, it's just a really fun little throwaway game that Rare did that was great. Dixie Kong from DK64, it's an interesting one. And he's obviously got his Rare hat on because he's obviously throwing down Joanna from Perfect Dark as well. So, yeah, a character that is strong, independent woman, and I don't feel like was overly sexualized. Possibly on the 360 reboot, there's an element of that creeping in, but nothing too crazy. He's commented once, he's commented twice. Spider Binks to retro gaming. Forgot to give one of the best female characters a shout out to Fio Jeremy. Shout out to her. Game controller emoji, sir. Stand for everybody. Stand for the national anthem, sir. And everybody sit down. Trophy emoji, sir, because we're all winners, sir. Who's next out the post bag, my good friend?
We got Comic Picture 79, a.k.a. Adam the Artist. He says, I really wish I could do a Scottish accent, but I can't. I think that this depiction of Lara Croft is a great example of how the portrayal of strong female lead character has evolved. Obviously, in the early Tomb Raider games, Laura was a badass anyway, but she did have overly sexualized attributes and a voice attitude to match. It wasn't really sexist, I would suggest, but it was definitely designed to cater to adolescent boys and young men, aka me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Perfectly, yeah, 100%.
A man that many years ago at this point left us a wonderful review on iTunes. It's Mr. Mystery. He says it's great to have so many female characters in games, be it stronger or otherwise. Looking at you, Princess Peach, eyes looking to the left, laughing emoji, close brackets. I always make a point, though, to play as female whenever I'm given the choice, not because of strength, but because I enjoy having perspective as a female character and often changing how I'd normally react to others in game. Femme Shepherd being my favourite experience, and Fable. Big up the girls. I'd like to see Spider-Woman come to PlayStation. If I'm honest, would be very cool. Take it easy, dudes. Rocking out, hand emoji. And that draws a line underneath female protagonists in games, aka what we're calling female representation
first of all,
in video games.
Shout out to all the UK moms.
Exactly.
Okay.
Shout out to all the females that got in contact for the first time.
Yeah.
To get their comment up. And thank you for listening.
My final thoughts.
Yeah, let's do your final thoughts to sum up the project.
So things have definitely, obviously changed from the early 80s till now, right? Yeah. And beauty's an eye of the beholder. So they're going to make games with, male and female who would assume to be somewhat good looking. I guess you would almost assume, unless there's a unique narrative they're trying to tell, which is fine. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to look, sexy to be sexy. Sometimes just a black dress, boom, that's all you need, right? And if you got a good story, it's a good story. I definitely have seen female characters change. I hope it keeps changing. I'll always be a female character if given the choice. That's just how I've always been. First of all, from growing up, less arguments at the arcade. Okay? Yeah. I just got to play no matter what. I don't want to be the girl. Okay, well, I'm first place with kills, so it doesn't matter. I've always liked to see I'm a guy, obviously, so I already know what I would think and what I would do. But now I'm playing as a female character, so I'm trying to get my mindset into what she's going through, and it would actually change how I would play a game, because I'd be like, well, what would I do? Would I do this? Is it the wrong or right way to come at a situation? I don't know, but I felt like playing with this character, I've made that decision from her standpoint. I just think they have a lot more to offer. I'm excited to see where it goes. And like I said, just be yourself. You don't have to worry about what anybody thinks a woman should look like. Just, who cares?
And to that point, I don't think my girlfriend loves video games and plays them just as much as I do. And I think if you like video games as well,
yeah.
And I know that this is changing, don't let some guy tell you, oh, what, that's a man's thing though, isn't it? It's a man's hobby. Like, no, it's not. There's no film that's prerequisite for men. There's no TV show that's prerequisite for men. And video games, I think a lot of the time, girls don't think they're good enough on the controls. And I just think that's utter nonsense. And that perpetuated myth is stopping them from enjoying my favourite medium. And for storytelling, full stop. Like, for me, it outstrips films every time, because by the time you've lived in this character's shoes, when something happens to you in that game, the emotional ramifications are far more deep-reaching than would be in a film. That connection is not there.
Get off the mindset, oh, I was beat by a girl. Bro, you were beat by a better player.
Yes, exactly. You were beat by a better gamer.
Period. That's it.
Well, let's draw a line under that. Stingray and our resident Naderwell, he brings us the pirate release copies of the new releases. At least that's the story lore that we've got. Do you know what he's been doing this week? He's been going round the service stations, as you would call them, the fuel stations in the UK, stealing flowers out of the buckets near the door that he's now passing off to young men and ladies who've forgotten it's Mother's Day in the UK. That's because he is what we call a scoundrel. With that being said, he tears down 5th of May, and it's time for a peek in what we affectionately call Stingrays Boot. What's left between some counterfeit nappies and a dodgy copy of Battlefriend Door this week. These are the new release highlights for the week March 8th to March 14th, 2021. Listeners, these are out digital, physical, or will be by the time this podcast is in your feed, but could be, Bobby. Oh, yes, they could be. Soon as we saddle the world, not just the UK, but America as well, they could be region dependent. It's a bit of a quiet week.
Sure we can't save money for next week?
No, we're going to blow it. Okay, so you've got to pick a game. Okay, you got to pick a game out of this.
I mean, there's only one I could play. That's it. So that's the one I'm going to pick.
Okay, that's fine by me. First out the boot, then First Strike Classic on the PC, March 10th. First Strike is a fast-paced, real-time strategy game where you play one of the 12 biggest nuclear superpowers in the world, with from known superpowers like the USA to an upstart hellraiser like North Korea. Try to be the last one remaining when the whole world blows to smithereens. That actually looks okay, to be fair. If you've got a Steam account and you want to grab yourself First Strike Classic, I think it'd be an enjoyable distraction. What's next out the boot, handsome man?
Interesting. We got Nightfall Hacker. I must read that completely wrong. So hopefully I listened and stopped. For PC, March 10th. Plan, hack, and fight your way against rogue software and Nightfall Hacker, a turn-based strategy game.
Mm.
Well, I'll read this one too. This is my mommy, because Cyanide and Happiness. I read that right?
That's cyanide.
That's the stuff you put in the 80s movie. They bite into it to die, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cyanide and Happiness. I'm sorry.
You're all good. You're all good.
Freakpocalypse, which could be something else. Part 1 for PC on the Switch, March 11th. From the creators of Cyanide and Happiness and iMockery comes an all-new point-and-click adventure game filled with dark humor, drama, and all the weirdness you've grown to love and dread over the years.
Sounds pretty good. That's your Mummy, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Freakpocalypse got me.
Mummy is what we would beg our mummies for. We'd pull on their apron strings and say, Mummy, that's the game or movie I want this week. Up next is probably going to be mine. It's Flow Weaver on the PC VR, March 11th. You're trapped, bound by magic by unknown captors, but you are a Flow Weaver and can move between dimensions, travel amongst them, learn new spells, and uncover the secrets of this strange world to orchestrate your escape. That has got some really clever ideas within it. It's a totally seated experience, but if you've got PC VR, Steam VR, Oculus VR, I do believe you can access Flow Weaver. I want you to check it out. Graphics were above average.
Up next, we got WRC, which I feel literally like maybe 10 shows ago, we had the 8th installment.
That's how long we've been doing this gig now, Bobby. Things like in the second time round.
Just a few. So here's the 9th one. WRC for the Switch, March 11th. WRC is the leading off-road simulation franchise endorsed by the world's top drivers. It is the most in-depth rally game on the market. 3 new rallies, Kenya, Japan, and New Zealand. Over 15 classic cars and 100 special stages to tackle. WRC 9 has new gameplay modes, specifically designed.
It's not even specifically. You trip yourself over in the words just specially.
Specially, right. Especially. And you know what? I got a big screen now, so there's no excuse. Designed for the community, including club system, where each player can create their own championship and complete it online with the rest of the world. Take control of all official drivers and cars from 3 WRC categories with improved physics for even greater realism, redesigned environments, and all new pack notes for total immersion. I would love to do any show, mine, this one, a guest star, and not trip up my words.
It's part of the nuances that make you you.
That's true. Even in real life.
Exactly. So I wouldn't want you not to be yourself. So what's your Mummy VHS pick? Because every week we pull out a VHS that we're going to watch. It's normally a retro nostalgia one. What's your choice, friend?
Oh, my God. Let me see here. You know what? Only because I saw it the other day. Red Sonja.
Well, that's a good one.
I mean, it's not really empowering. It's kind of corny, but that's the only movie I watched. I can't remember anything else top of my head.
Oh, are we going to pick a strong female representation film?
No, that's not one for sure.
Because I had Cliffhanger ready to go. I don't know if I mentioned. I probably said it 3 weeks ago because I recently watched it. But
I mean, if you're going to go strong female, then you got Alien.
I want the Alien trilogy.
I mean, then that's fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm taking.
Then let's do that.
I'm wearing this top by Cult Clothing. Very, very limited edition. If you like it, I think they've got some spares left.
Really?
I don't know if you can see it properly, but it's done in like a graphic art style. Check them out on Instagram.
Ah, okay.
It's, Ripley's on it down here. You got Bishop. You got all of it.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and on the arm, it's like Aliens, a film by James Cameron, and on this arm, it's this time it's War, Sigourney Weaver as Ellen Ripley. So
yeah,
could I mean, based on what we've talked about today? No, not really.
100%.
So Cult Clothing on Instagram. They've got some great stuff. It's limited edition. It's very sort of boutique and bespoke. So grab yourself one. I do believe it's one of our listeners as well, Radadad Gamer UK. I always get his name wrong, but I'm sure that's the man behind the Cult Clothing website. So yeah, check it out. With that all said and done, the boots dropped, the smoke was cleared. We turn around, and just as quickly as he turned up, he's gone. I also snagged a little rustle of flowers. Stingray's a man who can appear in all of time and space, so he's going to drop them off in the UK for me. Thank you, Stingray. Very kind of you. Mumsy's got some flowers. Bless Mumsy. Those that paid attention at the top of the show, they know that I asked you what you had been playing, but they know the show cannot end. And Odders cannot deliver his chocolates and flowers to his mother until I ask you, Bobby, what are you hoping to play for this gaming week?
So continue. We were here together, and not try to throw it out the window. Maquette.
Yeah.
Finish that, and then begin Sniper Elite 4 with my boy Marlon.
A glutton for punishment as ever. He's just ponied up straight. I need to normally have a bit of a palate cleanser. I guess that's what Maquette's going to be. But I suppose also you need to keep the skills up.
Yeah. Also, you just need 2 friends. I had to use my other PlayStation to do, one thing in the game. So, okay. What about you?
I really want to finish that one level left, 1 or 2 levels left on Little Big Planet. I really do. I've been feeling a little bit out of sorts, to be fair. I refuse to let it beat me. I want to get it done, so it's 100% completed. I'm not going to go for the trophy or anything daft like that, but I want to see the story finished. Play a little bit more PSP, I'd imagine. I wouldn't mind a palate cleanser. Something that's maybe not on PS3 for a change, but you know me, Bobby. I'm an absolute scoundrel of a man. But we got some big
try
games.
to find the on button for the PS5.
I don't know. I'm trying to make it last longer. It's a launch console. I want it to live. I don't want to kill it. But obviously, we've got some big titles coming up soon that will be. I'm feeling like we ought to do some behind the scenes bits and bobs on them. So we've got Returnal coming. Which is an interesting enough game, I think, to probably warrant an episode. We've got Ratchet and Clank coming as well. So there's some bits coming that are probably going to make me turn the PS5 on. Probably going to have another little sniff around Games Pass, see if there's anything on there. I'm kind of looking on there for a next-gen Xbox experience that's not Ori and the Will of the Wisp, for example. So I want to find something that's from the ground up. That's specifically on there. I can't find anything yet, but it doesn't mean there won't be. I know that like Gears 5 got like a redo, like a remaster sort of thing, but Gears, I don't know, it's not really my bag, I suppose. But other than that, probably a bit of Africa. Probably I'll find some other lost franchise to time from 2008 and possibly fall in love with a handheld gaming device from 20 years ago. What's not normal about that behaviour, Bobby, on a cutting-edge gaming news show? I don't have to conform to type anymore. I just do what makes me happy. And with all that said and done, that's all we have. I mean, warning, anyone listening now, you push too hard, and this will be a PS3 show with a time machine where we basically say it's March 2006 and we do the new releases as if they're the PS3 games coming out in 2006, PSP as well. And then each month we'll do like the next big game. So like when BioShock first comes out, we'll do a behind the scenes, like this is what it's going to be like a true of the time PS3 podcast. You push too hard and that's what the show will be. But for now, it's your number one worldwide's most popular independent multi-format gaming podcast. And for that, we thank you, because without you, there would be no show. So you'd have to push very hard for it to become a PS3 only show. With that said, Bobby, I think that's all we've got time for this week, listeners. As always, thank you for your time. We look forward to the pleasure of speaking to you again next week. Until then, happy gaming. Remember, there's nothing wrong with being given the unofficial controller. It's what you do with it that counts. See you, Bobby.
Peace.
Hi, it's George here from the Unofficial Controller podcast. Just taking a moment to, first of all, thank you for listening. It means a hell of a lot to us. Secondly, every week we bring you free content, the latest news, the new releases, a feature of note, normally something to do with games or gaming past, be it one of our history of documentaries or an insight into the industry itself, or how games have affected us as people. Well, yes, we incorporate you, listeners, into that. All we ask is that you drop a little comment on our post on social media and you can get featured on the show. Hey, do you know what? You may even win a prize. The only charge for this is £0, 0 pence, $0. That's right, no money. But all we ask is that you like, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you found this show. And if you're feeling a little bit cheeky, tell a friend, get them to do the same. We have a Discord that's free for you guys to all join in and get involved in. And the community on Instagram and Twitter is alive and thriving. So don't be a lonely gamer. Make yourself known. Thank you. And now it's time to begin this week's entertainment. Take care, guys.